Hey everyone, welcome to Fandalorians. It's adventure time. I had to pull out my old hat, but now we're going to do this actually as a detective noir thing. Is what we're going to do. Let me get the jaunty angle.
Yeah,
There we
he
go.
was looking at you, Grogu.
Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to another episode of the Fandalorians. And of course, joining me as always, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Rob from Smirking Reviews.
Yep. I've crawled out of my cave once again to talk about something with my friend Darren here. And yeah, it's the Mandalorian. We're back talking season 3, episode 2. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited. Sadly, we are again missing our third partner in crime, Don. He's in a back to tank, trying to take on the Mythosaur all by himself. It's a team effort, folks. You can't go all alone. But again, hopefully we'll be able to get him back out and on his feet by next week. Want to be sure to thank everybody joining us live in the chat, everybody joining us in the archives. Of course, we want you to like and subscribe and hit the notifications and all those things so you don't miss a single one of these. Um, but yeah, very different episode. In fact, I really wanted to come out today just munching on crow because as much as I gave crap last week, oh my God, did they make up for it this week? In my humble opinion. Um, Even the Pelimato stuff, I was willing to get by with
Yep,
everything else they did. It was Star
yep.
Wars, it was Indiana Jones, it was Tomb Raider, it was awesome all around. Rob, what did you think
Yep.
about this week's episode?
Well, yeah, I mean everything you said. I mean but the difference is, and that's why I wrote what I wrote, because you watch the beginning of this episode to the point where he goes, "Are you ready for an adventure?" That's how you start a season.
True. This would have been a perfect first episode outside of maybe that little Bo-Katan scene last week
That's
to
what I'm
just,
saying.
yeah.
Is that we didn't need the alligator theme park ride exposition of to the same person again. I actually talked about this to someone today, and they were like, "That was the same person." I'm like, "Yep, that was the same person, totally telling them the same story twice." So, and then the whole thing with Grief Cargo again, just so that they could explain what happened to Cara Dune and what's been going on there. Don't need it. If this episode had started with them going to see Cara Dune, or sorry,
Bo-Katan.
uh, Bo-Katan,
Yeah.
and her telling them to screw, and then cutting over to her and the Jawas and everything. That's how this first episode should. That's the premiere
Yeah.
because it moves the plot forward. It starts in a place that moves the plot forward instead of the rest of that other nonsense. Because again, what was that for? And it made me think today. I was talking about how shows used to do big recap episodes right before the premiere. Like
Mm-hmm.
Lost would do
Oh
previously
God,
on
yeah.
Lost, and you'd have 40 minutes of them telling you every single thing that had happened, big moment from the show earlier. And they would sometimes do it clever, but mostly it was not. It was just a big recap show to get you hyped.
Yeah.
Well, what they did last week was the most expensive hype episode that anyone's ever done because they did exactly what those shows have done, just a big recap and a lot of exposition for who though, because anybody that likes the Mandalorian already, all three and all three of you who don't, if you're starting at season 3, apparently that's who this is for, because then
Sure.
they go, okay, well, we want to get the new fans in, so we throw in the alligator attack so that we can show them that's what, the kind of stakes and the kind of effects we'll have. And oh look, and I still can't make any. I'm trying to think of a reason for the whole going to that Navarro planet, and I still can't think of one. So still skip it. So I'm just gonna pretend. The only thing that really sucks is because we only get so few precious episodes. That first episode is really a nice 30-minute waste of time.
Yeah, I think they definitely could. I mean, there's to me also, I mean, with the whole Navarro bit, our opening bit, of course, is Tatooine, and we're going to
Yep.
see, my favorite person,
Yep.
Peli. Um, I don't know what it's Boon to Eve. You get pod racing, or I guess they're just doing regular racing. It didn't look like pods in the opening shot, and she's ripping off customers. And fine, that's cool. My favorite bit is it's basically like, "Hey, I need a part for an IG-11. He's the only droid I trust. We don't have one, but we've got an R5 unit. Okay,
And I mean,
I'll go with
the
that."
right, yeah, like the thing is like this this episode actually gave her an interesting aspect of her.
Sure.
I finally found her interesting in this. And why? Because she's ripping people off. And they never established anything other than, she's just this plucky lady who likes Grogu, and she's the comic relief on Tatooine. But now they've made it, see, they've actually given her something to do in her world. They add to the character of that she's shady.
Yeah.
And she's being shady to him. And the only thing that doesn't make sense is that he falls for it. Like, he couldn't have just been like, you don't have a better droid than this. Like, if you're telling me this is what I need, I can go somewhere that has one that's not falling apart.
We get it. We get
But,
we get the New Hope reference back,
yes,
man. It's
yes,
R5.
yes. And I honestly think that is probably the same, like, maybe not the same thing, but not the actual R5 from
It's
the
R5
1970s.
C4. Yeah.
But I believe it's the character. I just don't mean, like, I don't know if that's the original chassis. Like, I don't know if that's the original, from A New Hope. But I do believe it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Also, the shaking of the robot and everything. Them making droids more interesting over the last, ever since...
adding personality to them, yeah.
Yeah. That's been nice to see, with, like, Rogue One and this. And so that whole bit of nostalgia is nice that R5, still around, still useful. And, he does serve a purpose because the IG, even if he got it, wouldn't fit in that ship. He needed a reason. They needed a reason for Grogu to be able to leave the planet to get Bo-Katan later.
Oh,
so
no, an astromech makes so much more sense than an IG-11 there. I was bummed that Grogu lost his little bubble seat up top there, which kind of sucks, but
he'll get it back.
Yeah.
He'll get it back. They'll blast.
Swappable part.
Yeah. So this whole scene was really great. And again, the way it ends with the whole taking off during the fireworks and everything, it's like, yes, this is how you do it. This is how you return to a show that everybody's been waiting for, by literally telling everybody we're getting ready to go on an adventure. How did we start the first episode? Oh yeah, they did the same kind of thing, but
yeah. Well,
but it just felt like now, like after the fact, it just feels like hollow.
It was the not Din flashback.
It just all feels like, it still feels like you were on a ride at like Galaxy's Edge or something, where at the very end of the ride, Grogu and the Mando show up and they wave to you, and all the kids in the audience are like, "Oh my God, they're really here!" And we're like, I'm sorry, we'll stop talking about that first episode. I promise.
I promise. That's fine. Well, and let's move on from Peli, because you're right. It's basically like, hey, Peli's got a life. Remember, she has a thing with had a thing with Jawas. That's why she speaks Jawa, and she has a deal, and she does things. You're right. It is a little expansion to character, and I didn't really mind her as much. I just had to laugh because my wife doesn't like this character, and I was like, "Come on, watch this episode. It's supposed to be good." They're going, "I hear it's great stuff." And the first scene was this one, and I'm like, sorry, sweetheart. It'll be quick."
Yeah, that was like a bit of a, oh no. I know it. I know that's what I thought when I watched it on Wednesday. It was like, oh. But so to be able to walk out of that scene with going, I kind of find her more interesting now, is we've had 2 seasons of me not caring. I still don't care, but I find her more interesting now.
But it was less annoying.
If she dies, I'll be like, it was probably from some bad deal she was up against,
Well, look, and I'm sure there are people that would like the character. It has its appeal to certain groups, and I'm good with that. I'm fine for the trade-off to get the rest of the episode. Because that was, and I rewatched it just before I came up on here, and it really, the episode itself moves very well. We have the opening little bit where he's like, hey, here's Mandalore. There's Concordia, where I grew up. a whole interesting side bit. Maybe we'll get to later. And here's Kalevala, where Bo is, and points out where everybody needs to be, and then boom, right into Mandalore, which was a beautiful bit. I love the cloud cover opening up into this total wasteland. A glassed planet looks so cool.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Creepy and just disturbing and unreal. Really great establishing the world there. And the fact that, again, the purge did not happen that long ago.
Yeah.
Basically like 12 to 14 years prior to right now. The quick little backbit. The purge is only mentioned in the Mandalorian show. It's not anywhere else in canon. So you have to kind of piece things out. And we know that Mandalore was fine right around 1 BBY because that's when Rebels happened and the whole Mandalorian Civil War where Sabine gives Bo-Katan the Darksaber and such.
Yep.
It's played like it's a while, so the guess is it probably happened right around the time of the Battle of Yavin. Was we had the purge and the whole glassing of the planet and the destruction and everybody heading and being spread out into the four winds. So it's only been like, again, 12, 14 years, depending on where we are in the timeline right now.
Yeah, I mean, the way you hear them tell it,
But that's kind of a great setup because you have Bo, who is, when she comes back, is seeing this whole thing as the destroyed planet that she knew in its life.
Yeah.
Whereas he is coming almost like, again, Indiana Jones-ish through these ruins of this, like, wow, this is this ancient sacred place that I'm returning to. It's a great comparison of points of view, and it's something they really build with when the two of them finally get together, later on in the episode.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking about reactions and stuff. Like, you can't see his reaction through the helmet when he's describing things. He's talking about things to Grogu. It's a way for them to kind of tell us what he's feeling without showing his face and knowing what his face would look like. And then in comparison and contrast or whatever, you get her coming in and her reaction and how she's telling the story. And two different perspectives, and Grogu's there for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a really, like, as far as dialogue, this show is none of these shows have ever been that strong. Sure. But as far as character moments, they know how to do that really well.
Yeah, and I know that there were some complaints that this episode had a lot of exposition, and there is a fair amount. But one thing that I found is actually this is exposition that works because it's coming from the character, it's describing their positions, and it sets up the changes we start to see through here, which I'm very sure we'll be continuing on through next episode, of the effect that basically Din's belief system is having on Bo, who has lost all faith in that system. And again, it really gives a nice dichotomy of the two characters kind of like dealing with everything.
Well, it's also a great way of talking about stuff that's like post Empire, these places that we've only had to guess about and fill in the blanks for and everything, and like seeing what the decimation was like here. And it's not just this place, but all the different places that we can travel to see like everybody trying to recover,
right?
While the First Order is kind of already looming a little bit from back in the background, and the whole thing that's going on with the Bad Batch and stuff like that.
Also a show kicking ass.
I haven't watched it this season yet, so but anyway, I'm done.
Okay, so we land. We've got the R5. We've got to check things out, and this is one thing where, look, there is a lot of predictable action in this, in the sense that R5 is going to disappear. He's going to go around the corner and he's going to disappear, and they're going to have to go out, and there's a thing.
Yeah.
But they take these moments and make them interesting. Yes, he disappears, but hey, it's because they were attacked by Morlocks. That's just what I'm going to call them. Time machine reference, folks. Which was very cool. And also, if you're going to use rubber masks on creatures, this is the way to do it. Shadow, movement. You don't really see them that way. You get glowing eyes. I thought that worked perfect. And we get a wonderful comparison that we'll see later on of Din still trying to wield the Darksaber very clumsily. Which is, again, kind of this whole great little setup. We get an action, we get new creatures, and we get a story of comparison that we get to see when Bo comes on of how this works out differently. And the realization that, hey, the planet's not poisoned. The atmosphere is good. Grogu can come out and join the party, and we can have our adventures. But again, it's the demystifying of this place. And I find that even more interesting in the fact that what everybody was so broken up, and Bo talks about the infighting amongst the Mandalorians later on, but it's like once this happened in the Purge, it broke the whole race of Mandalorians. Nobody's even bothered to come back to the planet and check it out. It's just storm-covered, glassed, just must be destroyed. But which is a very cool little bit to like, hey, maybe there is more life around here. Maybe everything has not been destroyed. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was kind of like what I was saying though, with the way that the show is being, how we get this moment of him meeting these creatures, and this just felt totally like Clone Wars. Like, again, we're back into it again. We're back into this live action cartoon where we're seeing what I was trying to say was like civilizations that are trying to recover from post Empire stuff, and seeing this stuff like from the perspective of like the people that were left behind that are supposed to be dead, that nobody even knows they're there. What does their society become like? What's their motivations? I had a hard time rooting for Din in this because for some reason in my head I was like, these people are just protecting their shit. Like he comes rolling up in there and just starts blasting. Now they're attacking too, but I mean, it's like, I don't know why my mind went there. I was like, I became more interested in the planet than and everything that was there. And as we find out later, things are secret things. And when they first attacked him, I did jump. I felt foolish for jumping too. I was like, they got you. Like, how'd they get you with that? But they got me twice in this episode. And we're coming up to it, but this episode had everything you could possibly want to make it feel like everything that you've liked about Star Wars, and none of the really bad.
Yeah. No, this was, again, a great episode. Very quick, very movement. We get this establishment. We get to explore the ancient city. Again, it's only been destroyed like 12, 15 years. But it looks completely decimated. Even says later on, it looks like it's been like this for centuries.
Right.
Which is, again, just look, I was actually playing Tomb Raider the other night, the old anniversary from like 2007, because I missed the game. The new Tomb Raider hasn't come out. It's probably going to be another year or two before it does. And I was just missing that kind of adventure feel. So the fact that then we get to this episode and it just delivers exactly that, I was very excited.
Oh yeah, we're back to planet hopping, and yeah, there's a purpose here. We're going to be here for a little while, probably maybe at least another episode. But
yeah, and we get a nice exploration, ancient place. We get the cool glowing-eyed creatures in the background. Doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to know there's danger there. And
I'm actually really surprised that we're just story-wise. I knew this was where we were going. I just didn't know we were going to do it today. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, we're going right there instead of making us wait. So now, where do we go from here? This is an end of the episode discussion.
But it is what makes it exciting, because you're right. Yeah. Especially with last week's episode, and I was like, just go to
clearing
Mandalore.
The table.
I was not expecting them to go, okay. and then do it. So
Yeah.
again, that was all awesome. And we get our creepy little like Morlock creatures before, and then we run into God, the creepiest creature in the whole episode, in any Star Wars that I've seen in some time. Somebody referred to it as a bionicle, which I thought was great. It reminded me of the Trapper from D&D.
It reminded me of General Grievous.
Very much General Grievous because it's biological, but it's machine as well. And it's just lays a trap waiting for, I guess, some Mandalorians, maybe some survive, because we get back to that lair. There's a lot of Mandalorian helmets laying around in the background there.
Yeah. And I thought way too much about this creature, man. I have thought way too much about this thing in the last couple of days because it's haunting.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the best designs they have ever done. And to be able to see it in more of a CGI live action situation is fantastic, because just like I was talking about with the creatures that were once in the wastelands that are now all everywhere, because there's no Mandalorians to kill them. You got this guy, and I was actually waiting for you. I was like, okay, is Darren going to throw out some knowledge about this thing that I don't know about? Like, I was sitting here going, okay, he's going to tell me that this guy was actually blah, blah, blah from some book or some comic or some random thing. And then so when you didn't know, and I was like, now we can openly theorize now, because I was like, what put him here? Like, how did this guy get here? He's clear, you know what I mean? So now it's almost like, wouldn't it be cool if that was just General Grievous's eye? Still trying to, whatever part of it was still alive, some little part that was still managed to create a thing and have a thing or whatever. But it's not. But I just really want to know, the best kind of stories that they do in the Clone Wars and then kind of in general is they give you a situation like this where you get to create the backstory yourself.
Yeah.
So that I get to act like this right now and create this whole universe of this guy who's clearly stuck there, right? He's done whatever he can do to stay alive. He is just surviving. He is not, there's no master plan here. It's just this little thing who managed to make a bunch of little other things to keep himself alive. He traps himself, he hides under the ground and literally just feasts on the people to for nutrients. Yeah. So he can eat. So he's not evil. It's just surviving. He's just if I don't do this, I die. Yeah. It's not selective. It's anything that comes by, like an animal, like any other kind of predator that's waiting for prey. Well, and I just loved that simplicity of, this is not something with an agenda. Maybe it had an agenda, wherever it came from.
Well, but that's now the great question. Is it an Imperial device that was there to hunt Mandalorians? Is it a survivor that, like you said, just managed to do what it needed to do in order to keep going? Is it
somebody who crashed there? That somebody went, oh, nobody's coming here to check this place out. Maybe he crashed, and those are the pieces left of his ship or something that has been turned into something like this. Yeah. I loved this discussion more than I could talk about this guy now for a while, and it kind of bums me out that he didn't just kind of pop off and they didn't see him run away. I would love to see this thing pop back up again, or so we just out of nowhere, wait a minute, that guy's still alive, get him,
Well, and it is a good thing we could see again or not, which is kind of an awesome bit. Just real quick, fangirling and loving it here in the chat. So reminded her of the aliens from War of the Worlds, especially the way that it had him in a cage, was drawing the blood out to survive and everything. Totally right.
And when he jumped out at him, when he trapped him, that was the second time the show got me. I was not prepared for it. And I was like, good. This is, again, good writing doesn't always have to do with dialogue. And when you can get people sitting there in the morning on a Wednesday, just sitting there drinking their coffee, not expecting something to happen, and all of a sudden, it can get you to have that kind of a reaction, your show is firing on all cylinders. So,
God. And again, not unexpected. Every tomb has traps. This is not a trap I was expecting.
Nope.
They turned that on its head. And yeah, super creepy, super freaky, and gives Grogu a chance to shine because Grogu does his best to try and save, can't do it, and then out of there, out
Yep.
of there to go get help, which is why you have the astromech droid and we had the establishment. So again, everything being used well. But this is a great bit, and we're seeing how Grogu has gotten braver and stronger, finally pushing that one creature out of the way, all super Jedi like, which was very cool. I think that's one of the scenes we saw in the previews for this season. That was kind of perfect. And then right to Bo-Katan, who of course last we saw was like, get out of here. I don't want to see you anymore. And even Grogu shows up. She's like, I told you I wanted to be left alone. This is going to be the last time Oh, what? Din's in danger? We got to go. Which is just the perfect switch for Bo. It's not about her. It's about someone else, someone who she allied with, who was there for her when she needed. And it's like this is the fire that she needed to be lit under her butt.
Yep.
To get her going.
Yep. She needed a reason. She needed a cause. This'll do. Like the kids alone, I can't handle it. Like all the things that probably flew through her head, but in the end, it's like, if he's here and the other guy's not, and he got the kid out, that probably means it's even worse than what I think. So, really, 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 really well handled. All of this. And plus Katie Sackhoff again, we were joking that she's sitting on that throne. She still was.
Just waiting for something to happen.
No chamber pot, no nothing, no food, no snacks, no phone, no, she's not even sitting there on TikTok or something. I don't know. But
just an old medical droid looking out for it. It's like, that's
it.
That's
it, man. No bed, like a cot or something, so she wouldn't have to go far from the throne. But we joke, but no, she was great in this, and it's great to see her in something like this again. She has that show. She had that show on Netflix that I ripped to ever loving shreds.
I
so I'm glad to see
the
her
first episode. So I'm excited. I know she is capable in a great role to do great things.
Yeah, and getting to return to the voice acting job in live action, she's not slouching. She's clearly having a blast, and that helps because when your main character can't smile or show expression through facial features, we need somebody with a face that's not a puppet or behind a mask. Okay, we need people to actually show us physical emotional reactions, real ones. And so that fits. And since she's such a solid actress, we're getting again, and also that reawakening that she's seeing, what's no problem for Din to feel is getting to see her go along on this journey and reawaken her own feelings again that she's seeing through him, which is really awesome to see, because this is not just going to be like Mando's journey now or quest. This is about bringing Mandalore back. And even though some of those episodes in the Clone Wars were, even to me, a bit talky, and dragged the show a little bit down just as far as pacing goes, it's actually really good political content, for a Star Wars show. And I don't think we'll ever get back to that again, but I think Mandalore needs to get resurrected, because Disney's going to want to sell a lot more of those helmets. So and what really sucks now that I say that is I went to so much trouble to finally get the Boba Fett helmet, and now they're probably going to be selling them in a year for $20, and they're probably going to be about the same quality as the one that I bought for 6 times that cost, And I'm just thinking about how you spent your time on a 3D printer one, and Don probably spent $1 million on the Jango Fett hat.
Yeah.
So it's just damn it, we were but to be fair, those helmets will probably break if they if you breathe on them wrong. So
Sure. They will be mass produced, but we will all want one. Want them lined up in the back behind our stuff. Everybody's helmet.
Can't help myself, folks. Sorry.
But yeah, so this is where we start to get again. We have the Mandalorian, we have Din going through, oh my God, it's amazing. Look at this ancient place. We must explore. I must get my redemption. And now we get the other side of that with Bo going, yeah, I used to run this place. It looked a lot better back then. This sucks. You can even see it on her face when she's circling around, and just her vision of this is just a destroyed city. It's just the loss, the reminder of everything that she has lost in this, which is just sort of a beautiful bit. And we get her kicking ass that first little bit when she just takes out those creatures, the Morlocks. I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep calling them that. Was awesome, and I love her little line, which is like, "You didn't think your dad was the only Mandalorian, did you?"
Right?
Kick
He's like,
all the ass, all of it. Bring more ass to kick.
Well, also, when she gets the technically after she beats, she fights those guys, and then she goes and goes and fights the crab guy, or the eye crab ninja, whatever he is.
Yeah.
The awesome villain of this episode. Doesn't that she uses the dark saber to fight, and I almost feel like kind of like, isn't this like a default, like it's kind of yours now? Like
this is the interesting question here, because I'm kind of agree with you. Now, the problem is she couldn't just accept the dark saber as a gift. She had to win it in combat. Well, technically, Grievous's butler here beat Din, disarmed him, and then she fought him, took the dark saber, and beat him. I don't know, it was like audition, A go to B beats C, then C effectively is beaten A. The saber should be hers, and she wields it so much more proficiently than Din. It was such an awesome fight. She's got that glowing shield bit too, and just, but she doesn't think that she deserves it. In fact, it seems like she doesn't care. That was the one thing last episode, like, oh, you still have the dark saber? Yeah, go wave that around. They'll follow you. It's like she doesn't, it's a weapon, but she doesn't feel that either that she deserves it yet, or has gotten it, or is still just lost enough, like, I don't care about this part of my life yet anymore, because it's gone and everybody left and there's nothing to fight for, and this is all ruins, and who gives a crap?
Yeah. So if she's not going to accept it through this means, then now the time has to come, like, where we have to figure out how's he gonna fight her to give it to her so that she doesn't feel like she has to kill him. Or
well, you just have to beat the guy. You don't have to kill him necessarily.
That's true.
But I think that may be end up something that we run into with the Mythosaur or something by next week. And I know we're jumping a little bit ahead here.
But that's what we do.
But yeah, of course, we do everything out of order, folks. But no, I'm glad that you thought about that, because I was thinking the exact same thing. It's like, she can obviously wield it. Technically, she may have earned it by the battle of combat thing, but it's within her.
Yeah.
That belief hasn't set yet. And like I said last week, Bo-Katan needs a therapist and a hug. Yes, fangirly, it's exactly what she needs.
Well, she needs her two friends to come back. She needs the guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whoever the other one was.
Yeah.
To just come hang out with her. They should have at least been hanging with her. And they're like, we're not going to leave her side, at least be that, even if they have a conversation with Mando, like, get her out of here,
Well, and I think that, shower. Like you say, if this is all about Mandalore, I think this is when we will get them back, or the pursuit of them, or something, however this is going to come out. I think this is, like you said, this is reestablishing Mandalore, whether it be on Mandalore itself or taking over Concordia. Again, we can get into that a little bit later. Now, Pog Soup. Anybody else hear porg soup? I don't know. I thought that would have been a nice Last Jedi
I
reference.
thought it was. I thought it was pond.
It was Pog Suit. It's from the old game that you flip the thing down and it bounced. Anybody remember Pogs back in the
I
day?
remember it. It took me a second. I think I was too old for Pogs.
I'm
But
old, folks. I'm old.
no, you're not that old. But I had aged out of them. Well, you're older than me, so. But I do remember Pogs. I
Yeah.
thought they said pond.
Oh.
Pond soup. I'm like, well, pond soup is everywhere.
That sounds yummy.
I go out to the yard and get some pond soup.
Yeah. But it's great because here actually we get that little bit of difference. You know, Pog soup, every Mandalorian with their salt was raised on this.
Yep.
But not Din, who is part of, you know, the tribe, the children of the Watch. Again, I'm really curious when they left Concordia. If it was during Imperial reign, if it was post Clone Wars, if it was just before the Purge. Kind of curious about that, but I'm hoping we'll probably get a little bit more on that. It makes sense. Concordia was the realm of Clan Vizsla, which the Watch came down from. So it makes sense that they would have been on Concordia. I'm just sort of curious if they escaped during the Imperial reign or when the Imperials took over Mandalore. But that's not really an important thing.
So they bombed Mandalore and they basically just said, well, we know they're all on Concordia. We're just going to make them watch. We're going to leave you all alone on that moon. We're going to blow up your planet and leave. That's like gangster as hell.
Well, okay. Sorry, we'll do a little background kind of like guess here. Now we know that Din's parents were killed during Clone Wars, it looked like, because it was the bots that kind of went in and took them all out. Clone Wars was 22 BBY to 19 BBY, about 3 years. Then the Imperials took over Mandalore after the whole Darth Maul bit and death of Bo's sister. And that was right at the end of Clone Wars. So I don't know if they may have left at that point, when Din was still very young, because otherwise the Purge happened, if we say 0 BBY, Din had to be in his 20s at that point. Just kind of like age-wise, 19 years, and he was what, 10 or something when his parents died or something. So
something like that.
I kind of feel like he's got to have been either they left beforehand, before the Imperials did anything, long before the Purge, they just heard of it. Because otherwise, I mean, why wouldn't he have gone to Mandalore at a point? There were still Mandalorians fighting and living on Mandalore. And anyway, I'm just sort of theorizing. This is all my notes where I was.
No, but that's how good. No, but that's how good this episode is, because it's starting so many conversations, and they're all good ones. Everything we're not just trying to map out the future of the show. We're trying to map out the future of the universe. Like, we're trying to we're talking about all the different everything that they give us in this has got so much for us to chew on, separate from all this. There's so many different talking points and so many ways to go that this is like, I can't now, like, as I'm saying, this is like, there's not that many shows right now where I want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And so, again, if anybody wants to know, like, is this, again, we keep saying it, but yeah, like, this is how you make good Star Wars. This is how you make good anything, everybody.
Well, yeah, because it's going to engage that conversation, and we want to find out what has happened. That's a show done right. And this is where we get the real interesting stuff between Bo and hold on a second. I'm gonna mute you real quick to get back here. All right, I'll tell you when you're back on because it's driving me nuts. It's technical problems, folks. It's StreamYard. I don't know how to fix any of this stuff. So we just got to kind of work with it. Um, but the real interesting stuff to me is this conversation that we get between Bo and Din and the comparisons of where she's come from and where he comes from. Because, of course, he's part of this cult sect that is, committed to the ways of the Mandalore, not removing the helmet, and everything is very mythic. And she's like, yeah, I was down at the waters once, I did the thing, I said the stuff. It doesn't mean anything. It just makes the plebes happy. That's it. We even get down to, and she's like, and here we are, the living waters, like, ooh, let me read you the plaque. I want you to get the whole thing and stuff. And she's like blowing this off, and you look over, and again, this is great body language too, coming from the actors that are playing Din, is the reverence that he has. She's like, oh, it means nothing. And he's like, this is the most sacred place I have ever been in my life. I will finally be redeemed in the eyes of the Mandalore. I mean, it was such a beautiful comparative, even to the point where he starts to give the speech and she has to pause for a moment and look at him and be like, wow, I'm blowing this off. I don't care at it. And here's a Mandalorian fully committed to this whole thing. And it's just, to me, that is just awesome storytelling. Rob?
Yeah, and I don't know what the feedback is. It might be my connection. I don't hear anything myself. So you sound perfect. So
yeah, it goes in and out.
Okay. I just hear a beep every once in a while. But yeah, we're inching our way there, but like, yeah, her whole sarcastic tone and everything is just fantastic. Of like, there we go. Yep. Like, yeah, it's all played so great because even at this point, she's talked to Grogu and they've discussed things, and I think this sarcasm is she's afraid that she's wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's like they say, like when somebody picks on you or bullies you, it's not about you, it's about them. So like her reactions are all to me more like defensive, like I've got to do this, I have to act like this because otherwise I have hope, and there's no hope here. Look at where I'm standing. Everything is gone and everyone is dead. So this lone lunatic wants to do whatever, but she knows, like, the deeper she goes into this, even up to this point, she's already starting to cave, and this is her last bit of it, to just until she needs to again come to his rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And then gets that moment where she realizes everything that she thought was wrong.
Yeah. Well, and we even had the moment before they get there when she mentions that, my dad, yeah, he was proud and died, defending Mandalore. And again, Din takes that moment and just pauses and looks at her. It's like, this is the way. That's, let's honor him. That's the most sacred thing you could possibly do. And yeah, what? He walks away and Grogu's staring at her. And she's like, what are you looking at? What? But yeah, these were moments where I start getting teary-eyed watching it. I'm like, she's gonna believe too. It's gonna be awesome.
Part of me wondered if he was gonna actually take his helmet off again.
It screwed up again.
Oh! Is there another place, another sacred place we can go to, like on the other side of the planet, like this one, but on the other side?
And look, let's be honest, he should have kept his backpack on because that is the deepest pond, man. He was going to be going down one way or the other.
Dang, man, like talk about drop-offs. Like, well, he was like, there's no bottom step. It's just, it's just 1, 2 dead.
And I think we could all expect that something was going to happen because it was too straight, too normal, and we're going to go. But I wasn't expecting a giant freaking mythosaur to pull him down. Hold on, I'm going to fix it for a second. And I think this was actually kind of one of those cool little moments where, look, realistically, does this make sense? Probably not, but we're going to go with it. Was Grogu able to get back to the ship, get on there, fly to Kalevala, get Bo-Katan, get back in the ship, fight the guys, and get back to Bionicle before he ends up draining Din? Probably not. Do we care? No, because that makes the scene better. The Mythosaur, giant. Did he grab Din, throw him all the way down? Probably would have disturbed the water a little bit more. Maybe shouldn't have been that far. Do we care? No, because it's awesome and it sets the scene with the creepiness that we want. So these are some of those moments where logic doesn't exactly have to apply if the feeling that it's conveying and the urgency that it is portraying, we can all go with it.
Yeah, this isn't Game of Thrones. Where fast travel should, is not something we can accept. But this, yeah, I mean, because at least we have established light speed. So, but they were right there. They don't even have to go that far.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, when you talk about how she's in a pretty casual, can she fly fast? I don't know, but it's a show. Everything's working. It's how so many fucking shows end with the hero being saved for no other reason than by perfect chance that your partner is there every time right before you get shot in the head. Hey! So if we can accept it from all of these other things and we all just quietly, what is it? The term, whatever. We just accept it, and it's just fine. It doesn't matter. I heard this term like several times today too, and I don't know why I can't think of it.
Well, so we get the recovery. We get heading back up to the surface, and that's where we get our glimpse of the monster battle next week. The perfect thing to lead off of. There's a freaking mythosaur back in the mythosaur den. And as we all know, legends say that a mythosaur will rise again, and this will herald a new age for Mandalore. That's what the armorer had told Din. And now we actually have that reality coming in. Yes, suspension of disbelief, fangirling. That's exactly it. We go with it if it all makes sense. And now we get to see the mythosaur right there, and we get to know that there's going to be some shit about to go down. Is it going to be Din beating it? Is it going to be Bo beating it? Is it going to be the two of them? Will Grogu just come out and just do like some final force? Probably not. This has to be a Mandalorian thing. But I think, again, great place to leave us, and a great, I don't know, this is how you do a cliffhanger. The heroes survived, but have they survived? Or are they just going to be in greater danger coming up next?
I'm going to try something. I'm going to unplug my mic and see if I can just talk straight to my phone here. No?
No, I can hear you. Okay. Oh yeah, no, this sounds much better now. I don't.
Oh, okay, then yeah, we'll just end it like this then. Is there background noise?
No, it sounds great. Awesome.
Oh yeah. Well then, for next time, I'll know not to plug in the microphone of these earbuds that pump out. So yeah, no, this is we were right to be cautious going into this episode, but for whatever reason they decided to do what they did. This is completely, I'm not even going to say they redeemed themselves. They just they made a really odd choice, and the second episode just sets it straight.
And look, if the trade-off to get good episodes like this is we have to have more simplistic 4-quadrant oriented episodes to balance them out, I'm okay with that. like I said, I will totally eat crow about last week's episode because we got this one.
Yep.
And we love the show. We're not taking time to come and talk about this just because we hate things. We only want to do this for things that we really like. And season 1, those first episodes really set a bar for the show. And I think this kind of returned to it and gave us some real interesting storylines. Was the last week all useless? Probably not. I'm sure the pirates are going to show up again, maybe with a fight against the Mandalorians, and that's going to be important. My theory, they will get a memory chip, and IG-11 will be the new sheriff of Navarro. He will take over, or the new marshal of Navarro is going to be IG-11. That's my guess of where they're going to go with all of this.
I don't know.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
I'm not looking forward to returning to Navarro, and I'm not looking forward to possibly returning to the theme park ride. So as long as those two scenes weren't that much of, look, we're going back to Navarro. There's no getting around that. But I don't need to go back to the Lake Tahoe alligator fun time show.
No.
So I hope they've moved on.
I'm curious how he's going to be able to bring proof that he bathed in the waters. Is Bo going to do a little selfie, pull out the iPhone, take a little video of him?
He's going to say, "I felt it."
Right? Are they going to be? Or do you just get one with the mythosaur in the cave?
Yeah. I tell you,
Oh, Fangirling was hoping for Bionic Cobb Vanth as the new marshal, but IG-11 is even better. And I don't know what they're going to do with Cobb. You'd have to refer back to Book of Boba Fett, and I don't want to do that.
He's a busy actor. Don't drag Timothy Olyphant back in here if you don't want to. He's got to make. He's got his own. He's got plenty of other cool shows to do. Like he did his thing. Let him show up in season 4.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure whatever role he'll give, it'll be justified.
Yep.
Sorry,
yeah,
folks.
I know that the new one. I couldn't believe that show got filmed here in Chicago area, and I didn't even know it was happening. So,
well, hey, speaking of filming, totally off to the side, Daredevil: Born Again just started filming in New York. So in another year, we're going to have 18 episodes of Daredevil versus Kingpin, and somehow the Punisher's coming back in. I would think Jessica Jones coming in. It's going to be an awesome show in a year.
Yeah. The Punisher, the proper Punisher coming back. Oh, baby, I'm ready.
I'm excited for what they're going to do.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I think overall, like we've said from the beginning, this was an awesome episode. I love the blend of Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider all coming in, the classic bits. I love the character arc that we have from Bo kind of being at the bottom part now with this cult believer, maybe reinvigorating some of that Mandalorian fire in her, especially with the mythosaur showing up. So we've got to tame or beat the mythosaur. Not sure what the exact legend is. And somehow from that be the motivation to let everyone know that Mandalore is not dead. I don't know why people aren't just living on Concordia or Kalevala if it's in the same system, but hey, I don't know what the whole Mandalorian belief system is. It's got to be the planet or Mandalore or bust.
This place should be covered in pirates. This would be a perfect place for pirates to establish a base head for the galaxy. No one wants to come here, and we could be looting the hell out of this place, finding all kinds of artifacts from their old days. I'm really surprised. That's the only thing. If you really look at this and go, no one in the galaxy's ever come. So I don't know, but whatever.
Well, that's where I am. I'm actually kind of interested to seeing how this specific lore is going
Yeah.
to be expanded, because I mean, maybe that's part of what Bo's doing, is she's protecting Mandalore, or that's what's going on Concordia, because that seems to have survived all right.
Yeah.
Again, just sort of the realities of why nobody has returned to this and why it is. But I mean, I guess Bo had made that great statement, is, you know, the Imperials broke us all apart. It was all infighting, and we couldn't stand up to the Empire at that point. Then the Purge came and just sort of crushed the spirit of the survivors, where they wouldn't even bother to go back and take a look after all this time. The psychological impact that the Empire perpetrated on the Mandalorian people, still reverberating now so many years later. I mean, that's a ton of interesting stuff to dive into. And I don't know, maybe we'll get that in this season. Maybe that's something that'll be coming up in the Ahsoka. I'm curious, once we get Sabine Wren back in the picture, what that feedback or what that story is going to be like. So I'm really curious and excited about where they're going with this and this corner of the universe.
Oh yeah, the future's bright for Star Wars, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, so next week, Mythosaur, folks. What's going to happen? Are they going to beat it? They're going to be beaten? Is it going to be Din? Is it going to be Bo? Does Bo get the dark saber, or does she turn it over to Din to now lead the people that he has regained his honor? And will he finally just go, you're right, these are ridiculous children's stories, I believe, but I don't have to believe 100%, and I can take my helmet off and be okay with that.
And like the smartest idea ever, still going, we won't know until it airs.
Yeah.
And I love it. Not knowing, having an idea, but not knowing, that's just such a great way to go into a show and be surprised. And it's just one of the great things about the show. I wish they do it for more things.
Indeed. All right, so I think that will wrap us up for this week. Like I said, next week it's we get back to Mandalore. We're going to find how this all plays out, and I'm even more excited to how the rest of the season's going to go, because now I'm really curious how they're going to spend this time and how they're going to build this up and what directions they're going to go. I don't know, but I am excited to find out. And it's been a while since I've been anticipating a new episode of any show outside of Last of Us, which is, again, we said last week, is awesome. Yeah. So any final thoughts that you got there, Rob, or anything you want to tell the folks before we sign off?
Other than my channel, Smirking Reviews. Sometimes I show up and make videos. We're going to be doing Last of Us finale on Sunday night. I will be sending this guy. Been a while since I had to point. It's been a while. Since I had to point, but yeah, he might be showing up, and we'll be talking about episodes 7, 8, and 9, and kind of the whole thing as a whole. So that's what's happening on my channel right now. That's the only thing that's happening on my channel. Otherwise, you can find me on Smirking Gun. No,
just Smirking.
Nope. Smirking Rob Plays on Twitch, where I'm playing Hogwarts Legacy, and just whatever else I feel like playing, but mostly Hogwarts Legacy right now. And that's it. I'm hanging out here and enjoying all this stuff that's happening. So,
Awesome. Well, I want to thank Fangirling and Loving It and Rena Dietrich for showing up here in the chat live. Thank you for everyone that joining us in the archives. And we'll be back next week. All right. Have a good one. Hold on. Let's end this right.
Yes. Oh, and don't forget about the audiobook.
Oh, that's right. If you would like to hear these smooth pipes talking about cyberpunk stories, you can, I'll put it down, a link down in the description below. It's in last week's episode. I just did my first audio book. It's called Teeth of the Rakshasa, Spliced Fire 1 by author B.J. West. Had a great time doing it. We've got a series that we're doing, so I am working on book 2 right now. I'll let you know when that comes out as well. But if you go to Audible, look up Teeth of the Rakshasa, you'll be able to find this. Enjoy it. You get a little sample. I hope you guys like, and I look forward to hearing your feedback. Anyway, y'all, Rakshasa. Y'all take care. We'll see you next week. Hopefully with Don this time, but it'll be us at least.